Good afternoon, everyone. The video we're going to start today, it is a 5-part series and it will be going through my 13 years CSA journey. So basically what I'll be taking you through my academics as well as my employment. So what we're going to be going through, we're going to be looking at the trial and tribulation that I went through for me to eventually complete this journey. It was the longest journey, and I didn't think it was going to take me this long to finish the CASA journey or to do eventually be eligible to register with SAICA. This journey is a journey of 7 years if you have decided to do your degree full time like I did, and you did honors full time. So if you look at 13 years and minus 7 years, you can see that it took me 6 additional years. That is a long years for you to add on obviously the long 7 years journey. How did I come up with the 7 years? I had looked at the first time when I registered for the course, which has become accounting. And then I look at the last time I completed the journey, which is when I passed my final board exam or final SAICA board exam, which is called APC. That is board 2. So to get this 13 years, I then said 2010, which is the year I started my first degree, and then I had to minus 2023. So basically, the reason I'm minusing this year is because that's the year I had already qualified. Why I'm saying that? Because in 2022, December, I wrote the board exam, which I passed. So meaning to say, this year, even if I didn't have results, but I had already qualified because I had already passed the December exam. And then you see here you have 2 years. The reason you have 2 years is because if we're looking at the first one, which is 2nd of March, it was the time when I could become a member. However, SAICA could only make you a member once you have paid the membership fees, and then they believe that you are eligible to register. So at this point, they couldn't register me because I had not paid the entrance fee as well as the subscription fee for the membership. So what happened then in July, Mazars, which was my employer then, paid the membership fees. And then on the 26th of July, I was then eligible to qualify and become a CASA. It was one of the most amazing day of my life when I was informed by SAICA that you can now use the CASA designation, a designation that I work 13 years for without taking a break. I know people might think that in those 13 years, there were times where I took a break or when I wasn't studying. Unfortunately, the whole 13 years I was studying or was pursuing this journey. So there was no year where I said, I'm going to take a break this year and I'm not going to be studying, and then I will subsequently do it next year. But unfortunately, in the whole duration of 13 years, I was either doing a degree, a CTA, or a board exam. And then one would like to know which one took you longer. APC took me the longest. So the final board exam really was the biggest stone for me to qualify and become a CSA. Now the other ones were not a problem, but the final APC, it took me the longest to qualify. And I would say that additional 6 years that was added, it was coming from me writing board exam, which was final board exam. Why am I writing this 5-part series? Why am I going through this 5-part series with you? What will be a benefit to you? I believe this video will be beneficial to you, not only to people that are pursuing a CSA career, but to anyone that wants to finally achieve whatever they want to achieve in life. Could be anything, It could be that you want to get that employment. It could be that you want to finally finish that degree. It doesn't have to be a CA. So this series will take you through how I ended up finding myself working in the industry that I always dreamed of working on, and how did I find myself working in a listed company in South Africa. So those are things that I wanted to achieve in life. And throughout my CSA journey, or throughout those 13 years, I learned how to pivot my journey to a way that everything that I want in life, it does eventually become successfully. So you listen to me, and then you will be inspired to say, I do not have to give up, because if she did it, I can also do it. Let me take you through the background of who am I and what makes me to eventually become a CA, and why did I decide to continue even if I had so many challenges throughout my journey. My name is Ayanda Fortunity Mkhize. I'm a qualified CASA and a member of SAICA. I was born and raised in a place called Dumisa. Growing up, I had absolutely no idea about the profession, and I had never saw myself doing anything other than becoming a doctor. When I completed matric, it was only when I was told about the CSA profession. All I asked was, how much do those people earn? I was more concerned about having money, as I grew up in a household that depended on the old age grant for survival. If you look in the screen, or if you can look in the slide here, you can just see that my strongest desire was to become a doctor. Why did I wanted to become a doctor? My desire for wanting to be a doctor was determined by the fact that it had came to my attention that doctors are making a lot of money. So how I got to know that, when I was bitten by the snake when I was doing grade 7, that is standard 5, my sister had to take me to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, we had to sit on the chairs for a few hours before the doctors could call me and my sister to examine, in order to determine how strong the poison was, or the snake poison was, in my body. The doctor called us. We went to the doctor's room, and the doctor examined me. After the examination, the doctor told us that the poison wasn't that strong. So what they're gonna do, they're gonna give him the medication. Then I can go back home. Just ensure that I do drink my medication for the specified period of time that the doctors had provided us. On my way home, I asked my sister, how much do doctors earn? Because when I look at that lady, I was so inspired. I'm like, this person, we had to wait for hours before she can examine us. That means this person is very special. So I wanted to know now, how much do these people earn for us to wait for them for this long before we can even see them? So my sister was like, they earn a lot. When my sister said they earn a lot, I was like, I want to be a doctor. And honestly, I don't think my sister at that time, she took that statement serious, considering I was still in grade 7. I was still young, and there were a lot of things that could make me change my mind from that point. So then, on the same year, we were asked at school, what do we want to be? So everyone in class was asked, what do you want to be? And I said, I want to be a doctor. Everyone obviously said, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a nurse, a police, and then they counted the list of profession they wanted to be in. And on my side, I said, I want to be a doctor. And the teacher asked me, are you sure you want to be a doctor? You don't want to be a nurse? I said, no, I want to be a doctor. And then the teacher asked why you wanted to be a doctor. And I told my teacher, I saw the doctor at the hospital. And then my sister told me that doctors are earning a lot of money. So I want to be a doctor. So the teacher laughed, and then she then said, can everyone draw the picture of the profession of him or her in the uniform of the profession they want to be in? I then remembered the doctor I saw. I had to draw the doctor that I saw at the hospital. And then obviously the teacher looked at all our pictures, and then he was impressed, and that was the end of the day. I thought that that love for becoming a doctor would maybe get to a point where it diminishes to a point that I don't want to be a doctor anymore. However, as I grew and I changed school from primary to high school, the love grew even bigger and bigger and bigger. To a way that everyone at home ended up knowing that I wanted to be a doctor. When I was doing matric, my sister knew that I wanted to be a doctor. She did a research for me to find out when was the medical school opening for application. And then she did application for me, and the application closed around March. Then after the closure, they informed us that we needed to go write an assessment. So an assessment is called NBT test. So it basically tests your academics, the quantitative skills, and as well as the mathematics skills. I went and wrote the test. It was in Greyville, in Devon, if I'm not mistaken. We wrote that test in 2009, and then around May, we were informed that they were going to wait for the result in order to start selection and determine who was going to start enrolling for MPCHB in the following year, which was going to be 2010. Then we had to wait to write our exams. When we were writing the exams, I was so determined and looking forward that I am going to be enrolled for MPCHB in the following year. Unfortunately, I didn't know that I was not going to be successfully or be enrolled for MPCHB. So why I didn't? When the result came out, I had gotten distinctions and my points were above the minimum that was required to enroll for MPCHB. However, because I applied to one university and they have a number of seats that are available for the course, I was not selected. So I was not successfully selected to go and study. I was very devastated. I didn't even know what to do. I cried almost a whole day because I felt like my dream of becoming a doctor was just shattered. So what actually happened then the following day? The following day, my sister called me and then she said she was organizing Mr. Mkhize to take me to Worsville, UK, that's in Worsville campus, so that I can see what I can do, provided that now I have not been accepted to study medicine. And then I went to Worsville. When I got to Worsville, there are registration advisors or clerks that assist the first years to help them and coach them in terms of what they can do after looking at their matric statements. They look at my matric statement and my results was good, and then they said, okay, there's a lot that you can do. However, some of the courses that you can do, unfortunately, they are closed. So since the courses are closed, it means that you cannot be able to do them. I felt so bad. And then they said, okay, for science, the only course that you can still try and apply for, it was BSc, medical science. And then obviously, if I do well, I can then reapply to do medicine in the following year or MBCHB. And then the second option I was given was that I enroll for become accounting, then I'll subsequently become CA. Just after they said you can do become accounting and become a CA because you have accounting in grade 12, I asked them, what is that? Because that was a new name to me. And I was like, what is that? Can you please tell me more about the CSA thing? They told me that a CA, or for you to be a CA, it takes a minimum of 7 years. In that 7 years period, you're going to take 3 years to finish your degree, a year for you to complete a CTA honors equivalent. Then 3 years, you're going to be going through your articles or where you're going to be trained to become a CAs. And then 2 years, you're going to be writing your board exams. And I said, this is interesting. What are the job opportunities available for this CSA thing? They said there are plenty of job opportunity, more especially because of the color of your skin. So you stand a better chance to be selected or get a job when you're done with this qualification. So I then said, okay, cool, that's great. And then what's about money? How is the money in this profession? And then they told me that there's also good money. And then they asked me, did you want to be a doctor? Because of money. And I said, yes, I wanted to be a doctor because I wanted money. That's the only reason I wanted to be a doctor. And then they said, oh, okay, then if you do become a CA, that will be equivalent. And then I said, okay, cool. Case closed. Let me apply or let me do a change of mind form for the two. So that meant I did a change of mind for medical science as well as become accounting. Just the following day for medical science, I was rejected. And then I was so devastated because I'm like, okay, cool. Now, my dream of becoming a CA, even getting little and of becoming a doctor, sorry, are becoming little and little and little, So that means now I'm not going to be a doctor. Now I must pray that they accept me for the CSA thing or for this become accounting. 2 days later, I got a letter that you have been accepted to enroll for become accounting. I was very happy, not only because I'm accepted to do become accounting, but because now I'm going to be studying in that year. Because the other devastation I had was that if I'm not accepted for any of those, I'm not going to be able then to go to school this year. That means I'm going to be staying at home. And I really didn't want to go back to Mesa. I just knew that I wanted to university in that year. So we've come to the first part of my series. What I'd like you or what I'd like you to do on your side, can you please subscribe and follow me on YouTube as well as here on TikTok? Then from there, I'll take you to the second part of my series. So my second part of my series will be starting from the year 2010, that when I started my BCom accounting degree. Then I will just brush through my whole academic life on the second part. Thank you so much for listening to this far. I really enjoyed to be with you around here. And all the best in whatever you are wishing for. And bye bye.